got a bit tatty like over the years. Larry was born in New York City. He grew up in New York State. He enlisted in the United States Air Force in 1979 and received his honourable discharge in 1981. Warren attended the University of Connecticut School of Broadcasting in Media Studies.
Oh, thank you.
It is. And in the 1980s, had the honour of working with the numerous rock and blues luminaires in a public relations capacity, including Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Wow.
Some great photographs of him and Stevie Ray.
Respect.
B.B. King, of course.
Oh, yeah. Respect.
And of course, Eric Clapton.
More respect.
The band, Pink Floyd.
Ooh.
Johnny Winter.
Yep.
Dr.
all dead.
Dr. John. And Miles Davis.
Who I'll tell you a story about during this talk. Yeah, don't rest this.
He's also worked in different capacities in radio and television, and is a musician and self-trained artist. Some of his paintings are really good. I've seen. Has anybody seen them? Some of them are really good.
Thanks a lot.
Larry became the first of the Bentwaters UFO witnesses to go public in 1983. I remember it very well. I was very shocked at the time, and was one of 20 military witnesses to testify in a disclosure project in 2001 at the National Press Club in Washington DC, which you can find. I think it's still up on YouTube.
It's on
YouTube. If you haven't seen it, definitely watch it.
Tell you a little about that too today. What really happened there.
He told this story to television and radio worldwide as a whistleblower, so to speak, including CNN, the BBC, Nippon Television. Crazy those Nippon Television guys.
Mad cats there.
Entertainment Tonight, Sky TV, and the Sci-Fi Channel, and probably many more. Otherwise his bio go on and on and on. Larry Warren considers himself as an activist for UFO disclosure and military witnesses' rights, which is a very important issue. And of course, he lives in our wonderful country. So please give a good warm welcome to Larry Warren.
Thanks for coming, all you guys. And Russ, thanks for putting on a great day here for me. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the speakers. Brilliant talk. The lady that was, she's still here, she's gone. And she was good. And Russ, I learned more about the Berlin thing than I ever knew. And it's good to see some friends from down south and up north and points east and west and some new friends. And you know what? Who needs to be here are here. And it's not about the capacity of the room. I am not technologically good. Forget that bio. I mean, it's like outdated kind of thing. And that none of these things existed. But so what I'm going to do is try to give you some visuals. I am not a researcher. I'm a whistleblower. I'm a witness. And I, quite by accident, ended up in this role and tend to stay in it because I've seen what I and others lived through get rewritten quite aggressively, even with the media, with other participants, some, the minority. Remember, what I'm about to tell you about, the majority of people that lived it have remained silent. Reason being, because they've seen what's happened to me, and some others. No, yeah, okay, you don't have to put, yeah, okay.
No, we don't.
Thanks, Russ. As long as everyone gets, that's good. My eyes ain't that good, Russ, so I need just an inch. I was 19 years old when this... Yeah, that's great, Russ. Thanks. Thanks, buddy. I put him on here. I do things on my Facebook. I put silly things. I don't try to get too political. I basically have Facebook. I have a mother with dementia. I try to keep in touch with my sister, though because of the role I got cast in years ago, I'm known for whatever, but in real life I'm a regular working stiff. Anyone, if you know me, it's nothing special about me. I try to be a good father and friend and all that crap, but I really am a regular guy. I'm nothing like I've seen other people act like in the world in this stuff. But I love this phrase. I love this man. When I drank with him once when he drank still at the Improv in New York years ago. I was very lucky, like Steve read. My bio, my co-author, Peter Robbins, we're both from an entertainment background, believe it or not. And though I'm known for the big ugly, I call it, Rendlesham, right? But I have a whole other life that I lived. I worked for Epic and Atlantic Records for 20 years. I co-signed a band called Metallica. I got a huge $500,000 finder fee with a friend of mine, Rich Carlson, as A&R guys that found them, all kind of things. But, the music business is very difficult, and there's a lot of temptations, and $500,000 you could blow literally in one night. I mean, it was bad news. It was crazy on the road, year-round, and then doing this thing that I'm here for today. And because it was important, but also living with post-traumatic stress. Now, anything I say about me, you can times it by any of the Bentwaters, the Rendlesham witnesses. George Carlin was not one of them. But I like how the man thinks. He's a New Yorker like myself. We're both from the Bronx originally. And I miss this guy because, you know what, he wasn't a comedian. He was an observer. And the older you get in life, listen, it's all about observing. I'm an American. I've been in this country 16 years this time. Our Americans are no different than you. We're just spread out more. We have the same problems. We're not millionaires. We don't eat hamburgers for breakfast. We don't live like Kim Kardashian and all this thing that's happened in the world that's numbing down our children, not mine. But, and hopefully not yours, but it's what they want. They want just to see a stupidity, and it just serves someone. I love the arts. I love music, and it is an escape from what I'm here for today. And I live quite a bit outside this. I don't see conferences. If I get asked and I know people, it's usually an excuse for me to revisit old friends. And really, that's how it is me. It's just seeing old friends, and, and then meeting new people that, like the couple back there, we were talking, was it you two nice people, that this is new, this subject, not just Rendlesham. You've had some things you've seen and you're curious. And you've come, and I honor that. I think that's real important, so welcome, And let's get on with the show here. When I grew up, when I was so young I could have seen that. No eyes. In 1921, and when I was a kid, I grew up regular kind of Ozzie and Howard American kind of family. President Kennedy got killed, I remember that. And I remember my mother walking on the Christmas presents. She was wrapping, it was Thanksgiving, and I was eating lunch, and I can remember this, and all of a sudden she's like a zombie stepping on Christmas presents. So went to the front door, and there's these two women pushing prams down our street, and they said something, and I just remember them running home. And I remember my dad, that's when men wore hats, like the gangster things, still did that. No seatbelts in cars then, by the way. When I'm making a point about this, I have extraordinary recall for certain things. Bills, no. So I can remember that day, and after talking to my mother, she actually was in shock, as it said, the president has been shot in Dallas, and on the radio. She walked on, she was just in shock, and it was a big deal. And I do personally believe that was a coup d'etat. My government was never the same ever since. That American dream has never been the same since, or even the ability to obtain it. I think we have a similar problem here, minus the power removed via bullets. But anyway, I have a great recall of things. As a child, I did not grow up in a family where the paranormal, UFOs, this and that. I'm adopted, I'm very proud to be. This book, where is it? This is not a UFO book, so if you think it is, it ain't. It's a story about really people, and that thread runs through it, and then it leaves it to you to. I'm not trying to hawk books, but and I appreciate everyone's gotten them, and I'll tell you why I wrote it. To meet chicks. I'll tell you why we did it. I use humor, because I'm not a lecturer. I'm not a professional at all. There's no profession of this. You were fantastic, and I rarely listened to other. You really were. I was like, God damn, I didn't know that. You were paying on, fucking good. Rush, you were fantastic. The funny thing is, in 1979, what makes someone go, it was not a popular time to go in the military. We had Vietnam, Saigon fell 4 years earlier, and we had a thing where Iran, the Revolutionary Guard, raided our embassy. The movie Argo portrays some version or another of that. It's a great movie, even though whatever they did with it, it's Hollywood. But it was the catalyst to get me to go in the Air Force. I was a musician. I played in rock and roll bands. I was in high school. I wasn't a great student, but kind of like my son. But I was blessed to come to England as an exchange student down in Billericay, Essex. And I went to school there at the Mayflower School. And I was so hooked on England, man. Giant Beatle fan. I met John Lennon as a kid. And I just, man, I'm in England, And that was a real transformative experience for me. I had a lifelong history with this phenomenon since I was a child. Didn't know what it was in the mid-60s. Yeah, Betty and Barney Hill's thing was known, but definitely not in my house. There were, like Steve, you were talking about your dad and his books. My dad, you'd find his golf clubs, but not a single book, unless he was a big business guy, but no books on, didn't happen. It just wasn't part of our house. But I had invisible friends that I could see. And they come to my crib and they go, and their head would move in ways I can't. So we didn't know what I didn't know what it was. So I had a history. You'll see all that in this. I'm trying to bring you up to boom. So in '79, I enlisted in the U.S. Air Force. And it wasn't a popular thing to do. My friends thought I was nuts. I thought of the Navy, and I get seasick, and I wasn't going to do that for real. And then the Army, but the Air Force wanted a higher standard, a great, entrance, and I thought, oh, this will be good. And I wanted to go into a combatant thing. The Air Force isn't a lot of ground combatants, so we were like RAF Regiment would be the closest thing I can relate to. And we were, so I chose the security police field, but I wasn't security police, I was a security specialist. There were two divisions. There was the cops on the beat, and then there's guys like us you didn't see much. And we were all, ready for combat and war, and we had big guns. And we were killers, they were trained to kill. That's what we did. And it was the height of the Cold War. It was a hot time. So I came back from England. I said, well, I want to go to England in the Air Force. We, at that time, ask a young kid now, they don't know we had American bases all over this country at that time. And I got the last assignment, last country of choice, which was, I chose England, in the whole U.S. Air Force on the enlistment program. So I came in, John Burroughs, I was the same rank as John Burroughs when all this happened. They always say sergeant. No, he was an airman first, just like me. Pennison was just a staffy, that's all. But there's so many more guys. So I go into basic training, and I go through that. And it was hot as hell in San Antonio, Texas, hottest heat I ever seen. But I look back now, and I'm not going to go into it. There's a lot of things not in there. It just didn't make sense, so I just skipped through the raindrops over things where I'm saying maybe we were put in place, really, And I will take questions. You're at one where I will take questions. No problem. There's David Bryan, you and no, we're all right. There's no dead rat on someone's anyway. So we, he made his bed. So long story short,